Welcome, good afternoon to the Other Page television program. My name is Haywood Fennell. I'm really happy to be here today with you to talk about what it is for me to be here today. What does it mean? You know, we're getting ready to have a Memorial Day celebration. That's the next holiday. And what does it mean when you serve your country in uniform, and even now, out of uniform, a lot of us are serving our country. I founded a veterans organization last century, and we started it here in Boston in 1997, Triad Veterans League. Triad Veterans League, our website information is right beneath our organization's name. We see veterans as an overlooked and underused community resource. We do a lot of things in the community, but for me to do the things that I'm presently doing, I had to change my thinking. Because when I came home from the military, I wasn't ready. It took me almost 30 years of failing and jailing to kind of pull it together. I was a father. No, I was a daddy. Because when you're a father, you incorporate the responsibility of taking care of your family. And because of my lifestyle and, living in the fast lane, I wasn't home a lot of times. And all that was left to my wife, who's no longer with me or with us because she passed about 5 years ago. She was a great mom still. And she would tell me that I could be a great father. I just didn't believe her because I was caught up in a lifestyle of addiction. I was an addict. And I lived that 24/7. I lived it 24/7. And I know a lot of veterans that I met that had situations that they encountered in the military. Some of it was combat related, some of it was just trauma, drama, and they weren't able to get past that, and as a direct result of that, they come out with some handicaps, mental health handicaps. In 1997, I was able to understand that I could do better. I could use my veteran skills to build and help other veterans and their families. And so that's what I do now with Triad Veterans League. I work with veterans. I work with organizations that work with veterans. I help to bring out a veteran saying that they are a veteran as opposed to them denying that they are veterans and have benefits that they don't want to go get because of the situations being culturally insensitive. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about our programs, what I'm doing in the community. And it might not seem as though, I'm doing all these things. But let me tell you something. I'm working with other veterans, and it makes a big difference. They say you can't get to a good place by yourself. I raise my hand on that. You can't do it. You can't do it, folks. We got to work together. A lot of things are happening in the world today, but it's so close to home that you got to pay attention. We work with children, we work with youth, we work with adults, we work with a lot of different people, man, that's trying to make it in the world, but so much is going on, and they think that they can't work together, and they tried the me way instead of the we way. I want to talk about the we way today. One of the projects that I want to talk about first is our United States Commemorative Stamp Series proposal project, wherein Triad Veterans League, a little over 10 years ago, commissioned the Artists for Humanity, which is an after-school youth art program in South Boston. Here you see the first picture of African-American veterans in different branches of the military. Women played a big role, big role. They weren't just working at the postal services over in England. They were all over as medics, later on in combat roles. So, we have a lot to thank our women veterans for doing. And Triad Veterans League, we encourage women. We have here a painting by Stephen Knight. 9981 is the doctrine that was introduced by former President Harry S. Truman, desegregating the military. And the men that you saw there were out of the Tuskegee Airmen, which was an all-black Air Force during World War II that fought with Gala in the air, coming down, facing the same social injustices after flying these missions to keep democracy alive here in Europe and in the United States of America. The Tuskegee Airmen, they're still around, some of them. We want to thank them for doing the missions that they did to keep democracy flowing in Europe and coming home and fighting to get democracy going in America for African Americans. It's been a struggle since the American Revolution for African American veterans. They were called everything but our names, yet we fought. And one of the things that I was talking about this morning was that the African American veterans in the American Revolution fought so well and so hard against the British that the British offered them the freedom that they did not have in America and gave them way to go to Canada, and that's how Nova Scotia got started with all the blacks that now live there. They were originally fighting against the British, and because they fought so well, the British was able to get some of them to go back to Canada with them and become citizens of Canada with freedom that they didn't have in America. Now, the Americans didn't want to give them the guns. They thought they would run with the guns, but they didn't. They fought as recently as a month ago. I was talking with a retired brigadier general, and he was telling me about the Lexington situation, Lexington, Mass, up in that area when African-American veterans during the American Revolution were actually fighting the British. So when you hear people talking about the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, remember that African-American veterans were a part of that. And so we're trying to take all of that, combining it with our proposal that includes petitions, letters of support, resolutions from the Boston City Council, letters from a lot of elected officials, but not enough. Not enough. We have elected officials, some of them, they will say that they do this for veterans and they do that for veterans when they're running for re-election or election. Truth being, they don't do that much. I'm not going to point my finger at you, but I'm going to point my finger at you because you know who we're talking to. We got elections coming up now, and we had elections coming up a little while ago, and I was approached by those that were seeking elected office to support them and the veterans that I know, but I declined that because veterans serve, you don't use veterans. And that's what I thought that they were doing, so I kind of declined supporting them. Of course, I voted. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. And so let me just say this to you. There is some controversy right now in Boston City Council where two elected city councilors are saying that they are ready and willing to resign from their position as elected officials if Mayor Wu insists on a $724,000 cut in the budget for the Office of Veterans for the City of Boston, headed by Commissioner Robert Santiago. She tried that last year, and it got turned down. She's back again. We need more money for veterans and programs for veterans. I mentioned earlier the importance of services for veterans with mental health challenges and their families. We need more money for our veterans. We don't need you to cut anything, Mayor Wu. We want you to be true to the veterans like you say you are and decline to go forward with your request for the budget to be cut by $724,000. $724,000, that's a lot of service cutting. How did you get there? And why would you want to cut the veterans' budget instead of increasing it? Veterans are and remain an overlooked and underused community resource. Let me repeat that. Veterans are an overlooked and underused community resource. Let's not use veterans because veterans are not to be used, and we are not beggars. I served this country for almost 6 years, non-combat, but I was susceptible because I had a weapon downstairs in the armory that they could give me and send me where they want to send me. But I was lucky. I was lucky than a lot of veterans that I know now that are out there in the streets struggling. Substance abuse issues, homeless, mental health challenges, and you want to cut the budget instead of increasing the budget? You got veterans that say they're not veterans so they don't have to go to the VA hospital because, as I said earlier, the lack of cultural sensitivity. They would go to a community-based organization, healthcare, and misplace the people that are eligible from the community standpoint. That's a cost analysis. That's a lot of money. We got to be more welcoming to our veterans, more compassion. These men and these women left this country all sparkling, energized, and ready to serve their country, and came back crippled from the situations that they were confronted with, to include racial violence. You know, they fought each other. I know when I was stationed on Okinawa, there were certain places that you're going to fight if you go there. And we would be right in the same barracks with some of the guys that we were fighting, and they were fighting us, but then we would be in the same barracks, wearing the same uniform, representing the United States of America. So the Commemorative Stamp Series is about educating people. It's about history, and it needs to be in place. The present administration in the doghouse and the resident in the doghouse, along with his crew, are saying things about our veterans that's not true. They pushing back, and we need to push back. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back to talk a little more about our veterans and what we are doing to help not only our veterans, but our youth, our community, using our education and some of our military experience to help develop a stronger community.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Yes.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
Most of us, we're not gonna admit that we need to help.
You don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts. It can be really bad.
It's just a beautiful space when someone can trust you and say, listen, I need help.
Can't believe you're doing this alone.
I've done it before.
I remember. You threw your back out. How you holding up?
Hand me that board.
Nothing wrong with getting help.
I'm good.
I did it when Felicia left.
I'll figure it out.
I know you will, but you don't have to do it alone. That's all I'm saying.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
It can be a real pain sometimes, you know that?
Mm-hmm.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Back again, folks. You know, I can't say enough about the technicians. They're so helpful in helping me to get the word out, the message out into the community about our veterans and the important work that they're doing. Earlier, I mentioned the United States Commemorative Stamp proposal that we are about to submit to the United States Postal Service for consideration to establish the commemorative stamp series. And by the way, there it is. There are the images right there, folks. You can see that we're covering a lot of ground right there, different situations. The American Revolution on the bottom, fourth picture from the right, or is that, yeah, the fourth picture. That's the American Revolution. See the guy got the musket, and up above them you see the women, you see the Tuskegee Airmen, and down at the bottom you see Christmas Addicts, the first casualty in the American Revolution in Boston, killed downtown Boston, the first casualty. And folks, you can go to the Strand Theater up on Columbia Road and see those paintings. They're hanging there now, and we're looking for people to sign our petition. We want to thank city councilors that have signed our, given us letters of support, giving us resolutions this year by the office of Ed Flynn, who himself is a retired United States military Navy man. He's been very supportive. We want to thank him and all of those that have written letters of support for this particular project. Just imagine coming out of Massachusetts, showing the patriotism, and there are our stamps all over the world. People say it can't happen. I don't believe in can, I believe in can. I believe in work will do. You know, I'm building the image of African-American veterans wherever I can. You go now up to what is called the General Edward O. Gourdin Veterans Memorial Park, across the street from Boston Police Station number 2, you'll see the statue of General Edward O. Gourdin. Edward O. Gourdin was an African-American. He went to Harvard. There he is. There I am sitting with the mayor and the commissioner, Robert Santiago, and some other veterans in the background. I was, and I am a member, but at that particular time, I was the chairman. I had been elected for 2 terms. And we got the statue up in the air. It's standing right now. And what was so really invigorating was my getting up in the mornings with the late Bill. Now I don't want to get his name wrong, but let me tell you something. We had to go to Harvard over there to get the technical assistance to put together our proposal to get our 501c3 charter. And we would go early in the morning, sometimes once a week, maybe twice a week, and we got that charter. We got it done. And one of the lead persons that influenced me around veterans and the issues that we need to deal with was the late brother Ralph Francis Brown. He had passed before we were able to get the statue in place. But he inspired the movement He and his family. His wife is still involved. They just did an event last Saturday. I was out of town, so I didn't make it. But I know it was, a lot of people came up to support that program. And I want to thank people for that. You know, and I want people to be more aware of the importance of what veterans stand for. Triad Veterans League, you know, we've been in the game for a little while. We know a lot of people. We know the importance of support. Support your veterans, male and female, white or black. Right now, you know, we're working with trying to create, like I said earlier, the Outpost program to be able to help veterans, older veterans that might be dealing with dementia, might be dealing with Alzheimer's or some other mental health challenge. We're trying to get community-based organizations that have space to allow us to organize that space for veterans can come in out the heat, can come in out the cold, can sit down, get a cup of coffee, talk to someone, and begin to acclimate towards going back to the VA hospital where they have benefits and services that they're entitled to because they serve. The STAMP project is to educate all America. All America. Someone was telling me that it couldn't be done. You know what? I don't argue with people. I thanked that person and went on about my business because veterans is my business. I am an American, born here, getting ready to go on a family reunion in July. My great-grandmother goes all the way back. She would have been like 160-some years old now. And I got uncles that served in the United States military. I'm sure that I'll be meeting other veterans from my family from all over this country. Veterans deserve to be served. Veterans deserve to have their history in places that need to be, in museums. We need that stamp, folks. And I just want to thank, United States Congressman James McGovern for his seeing that exhibit, and you'll see him and some other notables on this show when they came in Worcester, and Charlie Baker was the governor at that time, and they were presented the information about the exhibit and what we were trying to do. We didn't have any idea or any thoughts about this commemorative stamp series until United States Congressman James McGovern suggested that the stamp proposal be a project. Look at there we go. There's James McGovern, far right, Charlie Baker, and some other notables, the mayor of Worcester, former commissioner of Veteran Services, and this another lady, Miss Luster, Stacy Luster. They came out. Community leaders came out. James McGovern, he wrote the first letter, the recommendation. We got some more letters, and we asking for some more letters. Sometimes people act like they don't know what English is when you ask them. Elected officials. Most of the people down at City Hall are not veterans. I'm not holding that against you, but I do want you to understand what it means to be a veteran. You know, you come back to America, you fought for freedom for some people that came here later on that would not have been able to come to America had it not been for the veterans. dying so they could live, coming back with all kind of mental health challenges so they could do what they do and build their lives as American citizens. We owe that to veterans to make sure that they get what they deserve. Now, Triad Veterans League, I want you to take the opportunity to go and see the work that we are doing in the community. Things that you thought that veterans couldn't do, we are doing. We got an art program, theater program, and a literacy program called the Coota Literacy Enhancement Pilot Project. I want to show you some of the images and tell you a little bit about these books that deal with humanities, friendship between Irish kid, black kid, how in the second book, Coota and the Challenge, how in Boston, blacks and Irish were very close, and still are, we're trying to educate people. We're not trying to give you the wrong information about the importance of friendships. In the first book, Coota and the Magic Quilt, we're working on a strategy to create a book, an animated book that talks about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. It talks about friendship. It talks about the Bryan girl. It talks about everything that kids like. The book is 20 years old and it's still popular. Do I need to say more? The book won an award. So when you see it, it's in the library. We got it available online. You can check it out. ExperienceCLEP.org. That is the website. ExperienceCLEP.org for the Coota book. It also has a teacher's guide. The first book is in Spanish, and we are planning at some point to translate all of our books into Cape Verdean and French and Spanish, because we want our kids to read. If you can't read, you can't compete. You can cheat. You can take the shortcut. But boy, let me tell you, it's nothing like learning. There we are. There's our teacher's guide. There are students photographed in the Dominican Republic that are reading the Coota book in Spanish. A picture at the bottom right, done by Alan Ruhan Crite. With the permission of his wife, Jackie, we were able to put that picture on our teacher's guide. Like I said, a lot of people have helped us. Couldn't be here talking about Coota if I didn't mention Dr. J. Keith Motley, Emeritus, former Chancellor at UMass Boston, the school that I graduated from. It took me a long time to get my degree, but I got it. I earned my bachelor's out there. And let me tell you something. My mother and I were very close. My mother had MS, multiple sclerosis. But she didn't complain about her situation, and she was very, very wise. And I remember my mother telling me that I was smart. So, when your mother tells you you're smart, that's time something good could happen. He's like, Mom, can I get $1? She didn't finish the statement that she made until she said, you always start things, Haywood, but you never finish. We got to start things and we have to finish things in order to have a feeling of completeness, a feeling of purpose. And since that time of writing my first book, Coota and the Magic Book, I'm presently working on a fourth book that will make 5 books. And I've written 12 plays, and I've produced 4 of the 12. And we will have a new play coming up this year. And that will be 5 produced plays with an outstanding director and a cast that you would not believe. Check us out. Visit our website, theomtc.com. theomtc.com. We got bragging rights. We got people that came through. Got one that won a Tony Award. It's Broadway stuff. Got a young lady by the name of Sky Fortes, Fortes. Now she spells her name Skyy. She graduated with honors from Emerson College in May. And she has her own CD out now. She was on our show before. We interviewed her on radio and television, congratulating her. And we got Shaquan Reed, way back when. He's now an organized choreographer. He's been all over the world. Joseph Gonzalez is also a dancer. He too has traveled the world. Caprice Hall graduated from Emerson, does videos, and she also sells cars. Can't get her back in because she's so busy with her car sales that, you know, we keep at her, we get her back. Because when you come into a situation, a theatrical situation, to learn how to be on stage and incorporate that into your thinking, become a better person. We performed from the Harlem Renaissance era that began when we refused to go any further and to stop accepting the, no, you can't come in. We're in now. But a lot of the people that are in is a direct result of the work that was done by the ancestors who, when they couldn't get on the stage in America, they went to Europe. Langston Hughes, Josephine Baker, Zora Neale Hurston, a lot of them went to Europe, but then they realized that Europe wasn't home. They came back to America, and they took the stage, and they began to write books. W.E.B. Du Bois, so many of those people that are no longer here were our ancestors. It's all like an eruption because the Niagara Falls movement, now called the NAACP, was a little ahead of the Harlem Renaissance era. Even though it said Harlem, the Cultural Revolution could be found in as far away as Charlotte, North Carolina. Burden was his name, the painter. Jacob Lawrence. All those people began to inspire each other, and a lot of them came right to New York. That's where it really blew up, in Harlem. And so all we are doing with the Oscar Micheaux Family Theater program is following that trail that they laid for us to follow. Let me tell you a little bit about Oscar Micheaux. Wow. He did movies, you know. He was from out in the Midwest. He was a businessman, successful. And a movie came out called, oh boy, I'm telling you folks, you gotta excuse me not knowing the names of these movies. Birth of a Nation, of course. Birth of a Nation was really a scoundrel's work. It made black people look so bad. And Oscar Micheaux decided that he would become a movie maker. And he made some movies that kind of changed the way we were depicted. And a lot of the censor people, they didn't want to show those movies. And they used all kind of excuses to keep the movies from being shown, but he was persistent. And some of the movies got shot, and they're now classics. And he didn't give up. He kept making these films to make us look better. And that's what we do at the Oscar Micheaux Family Theater Program Company. We got a director, we got a cast, we're getting ready to introduce a theater technology around lighting and sound. You know, we're really on the ball when it comes to doing things. We're gonna talk a little bit more when we come back from break. We'll take a little break. And this is the Other Page television program. My name is Haywood Fennell. The program is brought to you by Triad Veterans League. We'll be right back.
What if you were Coota? If you were young, free to dream, free to learn.
What have you learned from the quilts I sent?
To read, to love, the whole world is yours. And suddenly, everything changes. You're running for your life. Freedom is all you think about. And then you realize freedom ain't free.
Back again, folks. You know, that was a movie trailer that was made a few years ago, and I want to acknowledge Michael King. Mel King's, the late Mel King's son. He did a lot of work creating that movie trailer and inspiring me to make the animated project. So we are looking for artists. Try to stay away from that AI. I'm trying to stay away from AI. You know, I believe that we can create this animated movie just using straight up art and artists. So if you're interested in being involved, if you have some skills, please send me an email, haywoodfennell3@gmail.com. There it is right there for you to send me some information about your interest in helping us create the Coota animated film project. Because it's a very interesting story. You know, I mean, this kid, you know, he wakes up and he's in a strange place. And he doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't know anything about where he is. And he finds that he is a slave. Imagine that. Being free, then all of a sudden you're a slave. And he finds some other young slaves looking for Harriet Tubman. Oh boy. I'm doing a TikTok thing on that one. I can't get my grandkids' attention though, because they're in school and their parents want them to do this and want them to do that. Make sure they get those grades, yeah. Look, that book, Coota and the Magic Quill, it's in the library. It's also in other places. Check us out at our website for the Coota Books. ExperienceCLEP.org and learn about what I'm doing with my pen or pens. Out there, the program just came out on March the 28th, April the 28th. We were at the Cambridge High School, Ridge and Latin, performing the Harlem Renaissance Revisited with a gospel flavor, directed by and revised by Sister Monica Anderson Spencer, a lovely and very talented lady and a magnificent singer. And we're known for our singing. So folks, I want you to think about becoming interested and wanting to do some work on stage. Now, if you don't have anything better to do than be late, don't want to learn, don't you come. You stay right where you are, because we are working to become better. We're working with the Oscar Micheaux Family Theater Program Company, and let me just say this. There's a young man that's been working with us, that's returned to us, by the name of Tyree S. Brown. Brown with an E on the end. See his work on Instagram, Oscar Micheaux Family Theater Program Company, and YouTube, Oscar Micheaux Family Theater Program Company again. Tyree S. Brown, folks, is back, and he's doing a lot of things to promote theater. The Oscar Micheaux Family Theater Program is grateful to Tyree, to Crystal Dotson, to Carol Brown, Dr. Carol Brown, if you will, Daisy Baker, her sister Karen Harris, Minister Deborah Mosley, Sister Irene O'Bannon, young man by the name of Sean, who's coming right along, but Brother Will and his son Franklin Spencer and Sister Eleanor Brown are the team of technicians that are working to create the sound and the lighting that raises the production values of any play. We're looking for someone to want to work with those people. We need a little help. That's what I'm talking about. We're trying to be better, but we need you to work with a veterans organization. There's not too many veterans that's working in theater, but Triad Veterans League has not only worked with theater since 1997, brought in a lot of people to work with us, now doing the Commemorative Stamp Project, now involved with the, we're involved with literacy. We're involved with healing veterans that deserve to be healed. Triad Veterans League is unique. We're not just blowing smoke, we're making smoke. We are doing things in this community, and we need your support. And so when the mayor of Boston is talking about taking away funding from the veterans, you got to look at her and ask her, so how you feeling today, Mayor? You want to take away money instead of making more money available for programs like Triad Veterans League? You came and saw the statue of General Edward R. Gourdin dedicated, and the leader of that movement at that particular time had been elected 2 times to be the chairman, and you know him and you thanked him for speaking at one of your rallies, and then you turn around and you say you want to take away $724,000 from the Veterans Fund from the city of Boston? Mayor, don't do that. Please don't do that, Mayor. You know, we came to make a presentation, virtual presentation, to some of the folks at the Boston Public Schools where they need the Harlem Renaissance curriculum in their school to teach the kids. We made a presentation and they didn't even get back to us. I think the lady in charge down there, her name is Mary Skipper. Everybody had wonderful things to say about her, but the people that we talked to, they didn't get back to us. You know, I talk about my mother, you know, and having manners. You know, when you get ready to eat something and somebody's around, I was taught to offer them. I was taught to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. And they spoke to me, I spoke back. We spoke to the Boston Public School officials, and they didn't speak back. Why? We want to educate our children. We are veterans that served our country. So you can't get away from that. I raised my hand. They gave me an award, and I told those people when they gave me the award that I have my hand up. I will not put my hand down until you understand the mission of a veteran is beyond the uniform. I just want to thank all the people that help us put these productions on, try to raise awareness that we are important, that we served in foreign countries, ready to die. Some of us did. We're grateful, folks. Getting ready to try to wrap things up now. You know, I want to say, man, how proud I am of Triad Veterans League, you know, and the work that we do collectively for our community. We also have a radio program, you know, Triad Veterans League Radio, because there's nothing to Triad Veterans League more important than to help the healing process that our veterans need. And while we at it, a veteran passed by the name of Reverend Murray. I don't know when his funeral is, but I want to thank his congregation and his family for having those meals for veterans on Veterans Day. I'm planning something for a young artist by the name of Stephen Hamilton, who was the person that helped the young people create the exhibit called Triumph Unsung Heroes. I want to bring him to the Strand Theater. I want to give him a resolution, and City Councilor Santana will be there to give him the resolution. We want to bring some of our cast there to sing and to praise this young man for his artistic value. Stephen Hamilton was the instructor for the calendar project that you saw the images earlier in the program. I'd like to wrap this program up and show you the images that make up the program. And again, I want to thank all the people, I can't name all of you, for helping us organize, plan, implement the culture movement started by Triad Veterans League. We thank you for your time. We remind you that we need artists, writers, people involved in the arts. Go to our websites, send me an email. We thank you again and again. God bless you, and happy Memorial Day to all of you. We want to show everything that we can.